So there's an interesting debate in draft circles, particularly in a very deep wide receiver class. The small, fast, speed threats that you see. Obviously, Ruggs is the top one for everybody, but there's a whole lot of guys that would fall under that category in this class. Probably two of the better ones that maybe don't get as much pub that will be available on day two, most likely. Jalen Reagor out of TCU, KJ Hamler out of Penn State. And I think it's kind of an interesting contrast because while they fill the same role, they're not exactly the same player. So I kind of want to go through each one, the traits that each one are better at than the other one, and kind of examine, okay, even though one's definitely going to go higher than the other, I think we can probably assume that Reagor's going to go higher than Hamler. They're not really that far off from each other. So I kind of want to go through trait by trait. And let's just start talking about the thing they're both good at is speed. Do you think that there's really that big of a difference in speed?
Depends on how you measure the speed. It's definitely the thing that gets them pulled together in the conversation is that neither of them are over 6 foot and they're both blazing fast.
Yeah.
And I think there is a difference in their speed, but it's kind of subtle. At their overall top end, not that much difference. Reagor might be just a hair faster once he's up to speed. But Hamler gets there quicker.
Yeah, and so we're talking like 4.29 versus 4.30 type thing.
Yeah, they're both really fast. Neither of these guys is going to be a tick slow. They show it on film as well, so I don't really care what they run because when they have the ball in their hands, they're both really fast. So it's the difference between quickness and fast, right? Are they quick or are they fast? They're both really fast. They're both quick, but Hamler might be a touch quicker.
At least in terms of like eating cushion, getting up to that top speed just as fast as humanly possible. I mean, when we were watching him together yesterday or the day before, whenever it was, he eats cushion like very few human beings I've ever seen. I mean, DBs were lining 12 yards off, and it wasn't enough. They were turning immediately, and it wasn't enough.
My favorite thing was watching guys pre-bail at a 12-yard cushion. So the ball's not even snapped, and they're already opening their hips and starting to retreat because they know 12 yards isn't enough. And he didn't flinch. He knew. He was like, go ahead, back up. It's not enough. I'm still going to take it. And he would just take it.
It's people are going to kill us for saying this. How Tyreek eats cushion, it's that. Not the same build.
I don't think people are going to kill us. His speed is head turning.
Yes. And when we did the full pod on receivers in terms of who we watch before we go to bed to feel good, KJ Hamler's that guy. Because you watch him and you're just like, please don't let him go to a creative offensive coordinator that will use this because he will break defenses. He is unbelievably gifted in acceleration. Again, Reagor might, when he gets up there, not that Reagor accelerates slowly at all. He's still elite in that regard. When he gets up there, in a 50 to 60 yard sprint, he might get there a little bit quicker. But in the first 20 yards, I don't know if anybody in this class, maybe even Ruggs and him in a 20 yard, just like get their sprint. I would kill to see that because I think it would be either identical or Hamler might beat him. Yeah. He really is that.
It's three in this case, very fast guys who are going to create a lot of spaces and defenses with that speed.
Yeah.
Because folks in the league fear it, and the last thing you want as a defensive back is a guy like that to get even with you, because if they're even, they're leaving. You're gonna get embarrassed if KJ Hamler is even with you. You are not gonna run with him step for step unless you are world class, and there are very few of those guys in the league playing defensive back.
I almost feel like part of the reason why Reagor might not get up there quite as quick, again, it's elite, but not like elite, is because he is bigger, which is kind of the second thing that we look at when we look at comparing these two guys. Reagor is a lot more solidly built. He's 5'10 and a half, 206. Hamler's only 5'8 and a half, 178. Significant size difference, like 25 pound size difference. So the fact that Reagor can still accelerate that quick at that size, and I think he's probably built a little bit more to work the middle and take some hits because he's really stocky. That, I think, works in his favor more than Hamler.
Yeah, we just got the combine measurements this morning, and I'm kind of happy that we did before recording this because we were trying to say, here's two similar guys. What are the real differences? And now we have a real difference. On film, it looks that way. Reagor's rocked up. He's a solid guy, and now we know how solid. You can debate whether or not that's a big part of their game, but it is a significant difference. And if you're going to run him across the middle into traffic more often, I'd be more comfortable doing that with Reagor than I would with Hamler.
Yeah, just from a pure safety perspective, like I think he could take a guy coming downhill and hitting him in the ribs a little bit easier than KJ, who I'm not gonna say he's not small, because he is small. It comes with the speed, but there's a lot of safeties that can turn you into pink mist pretty quick in the NFL, and I think Reagor's a little bit more built to handle that. Also, I think I don't want to say his size helps him with this, but I think his physicality helps him with it. On 50-50 balls, he does not play like he's 5'10".
No, and I think he's the guy. If we're trying to put pluses in each guy's category, jump balls, climbing the ladder type balls, Reagor is better than Hamler. He's better at going up and getting it. He's better at tearing it away. That doesn't mean Hamler doesn't have his strengths. It means that one goes into Reagor's camp. Probably a combination of his physicality, but a lot of that's mindset as well. And he showed that on tape, that if that ball went up and he was against a taller player, which he almost always was, he wasn't giving up on it. And a lot of times he came down with it. So it's a plus in his game.
I mean, how many 5'10" receivers do you know of other than like Steve Smith, where they'll dominate on back shoulder fades? Not a whole lot.
No.
And from a physical standpoint, Steve Smith is kind of a good comparison to Reagor, just in terms of how they're built and the route running, everything like that. I think in terms of the deep ball, 50-50 deep balls, sure, Reagor wins. In terms of pure deep ball tracking, there's very few guys I would put above Hamler in this whole class. And that's saying something because it's such a loaded class. His ability to almost do like the trigonometry in his head as he's running, I mean, full speed, pumping his arms, looking up. His ability to then judge where a ball is going to go, how he kind of adjusts his speed to get there. Like he has a little bit of extra gas if he needs it to run under a really deep ball that's leading him far, or even just tough judgment balls. When he was a returner, we saw one, I think it was Idaho, was just squibbing every single punt because they were terrified of him. And so, I mean, he's running backwards, the ball's flipping end over end because it hits the nose. I mean, he's just, whoa. It just an immediate snag. He didn't even struggle with it at all. He's so good at tracking with his eyes and adjusting his body to get there, better than maybe anybody else in this whole class.
Yeah, and I think it's two separate things that we talked about there, but his deep ball tracking, ability to adjust over either shoulder, put his body between the ball and the defender, use that little bit of extra speed to extend, to get his hands in a place where it's easy to catch the ball. Just so good. And you can watch a lot of other receivers in this class, and some of them really struggle with it.
Yeah.
That is not anything over 15 yards, anything over the shoulder. They're probably not coming up with it. They just don't understand it. And I like what you said about he does the trigonometry in his head. He just understands it in a very fundamental way, and that helps him maximize his skills. So deep ball tracking definitely goes to Hamler. The 50-50 balls to Reagor with the physicality. But then you talked about pure hands, right?
Yeah.
Reagor's hands are good. He had a couple of concentration drops. Not the kind of thing that really
the
worried
Baylor
me.
Game in particular, he had like 3 or 4
He struggled with the Baylor game, but it wasn't a consistent thing throughout his film, so I'm not really worried about it. Like Reagor's hands are iffy. I don't think they are. I think he has pretty good hands. Hamler, on the other hand, has really good hands. You're talking about that squib kick from Idaho. So they were kicking it. It was bouncing down the field. It took a bad hop right before it got to him. Flipped around. He flips his body 180, puts his hands out, grabs the ball, turns around, and accelerates in about half a second. Seamlessly. Like it looked like one motion. He's got tremendously good hands. Again, over the shoulder on the deep ball, he's getting those balls. He's not dropping them. Tough runs across the middle where he's come free. Penn State quarterback zips it in there. No problem. He just latches onto it like Velcro. So hands.
It's interesting too because his hands are only 9 3/8, but I mean he snags every. I don't think I saw one drop in 4 games.
Yeah. Again, he uses that trigonometry, for lack of a better term, to put himself, to use his gifts, to use that speed, that little extra burst, to put himself where it's not that hard to catch the ball.
Yeah.
And he is one of those guys that we say this all the time, but there's a lot of big arms in the NFL. I don't think you can overthrow him.
Josh Allen's going to try.
Yeah.
But I don't think he will. I don't think he can.
The Penn State quarterback unleashed some bombs because his eyes get really big on film when Hamler gets even with his guy. He knows he's going by, and he just chucks it. Like, he gives it. And Hamler looks at it, and it's like an outfielder. Right?
Yeah, center fielder.
It's like a center fielder with a big crack off the bat. He just turns and runs, looks up, and he's like, nope, turns on that extra gear, puts himself in position to catch a ball that very few guys in this class would catch. I don't care how tall they are.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, he's got gas, he's got hands, ball tracking ability. I think, though, again, part of the reason why Reagor, we're talking like we love Hamler. We do.
Yeah.
Probably a top 10 receiver in this class in a certain role.
Sure.
I think one of the reasons, though, why Reagor will go over him beyond the speed, the build, the physicality, in terms of just pure route running, getting open, I think Reagor is probably one of the better ones in this whole group. Sure. Definitely better than KJ Hamler. He really gets it, the subtleties. It's not just a stutter go comeback. It's all the little nods, the mind games you played, the release, how you make a corner uncomfortable early in the route so that you can really destroy him late in the route. He gets it better than a lot of guys. I think that's one area, especially over Hamler, that he's far more advanced.
And the sharpness, too.
The sharpness, yes.
Reagor really knows how to sink a cut with one foot, turn and go. He doesn't just rely on his gifts. I mean, he has those gifts. He's got the physicality and all the other things and the speed, but then he adds that subtle, nuanced route running to it in a way that's at a different level. Hamler runs good routes, but they're not great. They have room to be polished up, and by polished up, I mean one-step cuts instead of two, and he's got the physical nature to do it. We've seen the speed, the acceleration, the start-stop. It's all there. He's just got to get with like a footwork coach that says, no, don't take two here, take one. Lean this way before you do it, and then lean that way, and then he's going to crush guys even more because right now he's running round-ish routes. Not bad.
But he's so fast, it almost doesn't matter.
He just pries it open with the speed, whereas Reagor uses both, and then the gap is huge.
Yeah.
So
I understand why some people have Reagor as a top 5 receiver in this class, just because the gifts, the physicality, the build, like, he's got it all. Like, he's a complete, other than being, a 6'3" kind of guy like the T. Higgins, or he's really got it all. And somebody's going to get a great receiver in the second round. I don't know who it's going to be. Somebody's going to get a great receiver in the second round. And then in most likely the third round, somebody's going to get a can opener in KJ Hamler. Really, even though we have them graded so close, it just comes down to who you want. Do you want Steve Smith? Do you want Deshaun Jackson? They're both game wreckers. They just do it in different ways.
Yeah, and I think that's the important thing to know is that although both these guys are speed guys, neither one of these guys are just speed guys. They bring a lot of other attributes to the field. They're gonna do great things for the teams they go to. Those are slightly different things. We're talking about, slicing the garlic really thin here, right? And we like them both. They're both really good players. They're both going to be effective. They are similar but not the same, and they are not one-trick ponies. It's not just run and goes and trying to blow by guys. They can do multiple things on the football field to help your team.
Absolutely. I can't wait to watch them in the Combine later this week. We're recording this on the day they get measured, so they haven't run drills yet. This will probably go out before they do, so please, I implore you, watch them run drills because it is going to be amazing. These guys are both incredible players. Can't wait to see where they go in the league. We're going to be talking about a lot over the next couple months. Make sure to keep following the pod, the Bootleg Football Podcast. Follow this channel. Follow EJ and me on Twitter. I'll put that down in the description. We have a lot more coming on both these guys, so stay with us. We'll talk to you later.